What's up, besties? It's me, Waddles. How you doing? A little earlier this week, we dove into the Java version of the Garden Awakens drop. Today, Bedrock's on the block. And for good reason, too, because the Bedrock version of this update is actually significantly different. Beginning with... any second now. Beginning with this one right here. When you... Okay, I'll admit it. It's a little bugged. How it's meant to work now is on easy and peaceful difficulty. Drops on death, they're no longer a thing. Theoretically, if something terrible and tragic happens to you on either of those game modes, all of your drops should stay in your inventory. Tap that like button, subscribe, and members club. I've got a world download of this Bedrock world out for you right now. Tap join for more info. There's a link below. Drawing things back a little bit, the main menu is going to look completely different with a brand new panorama. Now, when creating a world inside of this update or messing with the settings of it, slide into settings, and we've got a brand new toggle. Required sleeping players is a percentage. By default, how it's always been is 100, but if you want to change how many players need to sleep, you could adjust this toggle right here. Directly tied to this slider and directly above it, beds work. This is a brand new game rule, if you will, as well. If you turn this off, you will never be able to skip the nighttime. Even better, these are settings that are accessible and changeable at any time inside of your world. Inside of settings, scroll down a little bit, and I mean, it might look a little bit different here, but it all works the same. Next change, bamboo farmers rejoice, or maybe not so much, because we actually have a couple of nerfs inside of this update. This shovel and the axe, they no longer insta-mine bamboo. Instead, if you want to do that, it's the sword and only the sword. The sword will still deforest bamboo just as quickly as it always had, but the axe and the shovel will be a little slower. And in a beautiful slowdown here, the budding amethyst block. If you're using the wrong tool, this block will break slower now. So this should mean maybe a little bit less accidental ruining of your amethyst farm. Now, quick think fast. What's the next move? Well, of course, after you've deforested the entire bamboo jungle, you're going to want to place a crafter down, slide into the crafter, and queue this thing up with a bunch of bamboo. Eventually, you'll go ahead and power that crafter, craft your bamboo blocks. However, eventually, you're probably done with the crafter. Well, now, in this update, when you're done with the crafter, use a pickaxe and... I don't know if you can tell what happened right there, but the crafter breaks a little quicker than it did previously. And in a change that is kind of similar to the bamboo change we just talked about a second ago, moss has a big change as well. Previously, you could have actually used an axe to mine moss a little bit quicker. Now, no longer is that going to work. I mean, it mines quickly still, but instead, the hoe all the way. If you want to insta-mine any kind of moss, we're talking carpet, we're talking proper solid blocks, do not use an axe. It's not very efficient. Ah, yes, but it's Minecraft 1.21.50, also known as the Garden Awakens drop, and moss? There's a new one. Farewell gone are the days of classic moss being sad and lonely, because say hello, my friends, to pale moss, essentially an identical clone to classic moss, except this time it's a little bit more pale. Hence the name. You get it? Keep up. Now, the similarities between moss and pale moss, I mean, they're all over the place. For example, the whole moss mechanic of overtaking other natural blocks when bone mealed, well, yeah, pale moss is going to do the exact same thing. Really, the only large difference here is when you bone meal normal moss, you get azalea. When you bone meal pale moss, you get no azalea. Carpets. We've got carpet version of pale moss, just like we had with the normal moss. However, unlike the normal moss, we've got a hanging moss here in the update as well. If you want to pick it up, maybe bring it back home, well, you're going to need a pair of shears. If you break this thing without shears, you will get nothing at all. You could also silk touch it if you want to, too. Oh, but the carpet, how could I forget? There's another beautiful, unique mechanic about this stuff. Pale moss carpet. Throw it next to a wall. Any wall will do. And take a look at how this stuff likes to grow up onto the wall. When you place a piece of pale moss carpet next to a wall, it'll grow onto the wall. If you want it to get a little bit taller, you can bone meal it, but only one time. The pale moss carpet will never go taller than one block here. If you don't like it being so tall, no big deal. All you need to do is break the top part, and it'll be a little bit shorter. Oh, adorable. Also, brand new to this update, you'll be able to find a new type of flower called the eyeblossom flower. This flower might be one of the most advanced flowers Minecraft has ever added to the game. That's because during the daytime, the eyeblossom flower will be in its closed state, looking something like this. If you were to take this closed state into the crafting grid, you'd get gray dye. On the other hand, wait around till nighttime and then wait around a little bit longer, and eventually the eyeblossom flower, it'll actually change state, having two states, one for day and night. The night mode of the eyeblossom is called the open eyeblossom, and if you throw one of these in the crafting grid, you get orange dye. So at nighttime, you got to check this out. Look at that animation right there. At nighttime, the eyeblossom flower will actually open up, and Oh my god, I keep looping it because it's so beautiful. There's a little sound there too. At nighttime, this thing will open up, and when you take a look at this thing, especially from a distance, it almost looks like this flower has proper eyes on it or something. Cool thing about the eye blossom, you could actually also use this flower to make sus stew. There are 2 different versions of it too. The sus stew crafted with the open eye blossom will give you blindness. Meanwhile, the sus stew crafted with a closed eye blossom will give you nausea. If you feed a bee, this poor bee, if you feed it an open eye blossom, instead of going into love mode, it actually gets poisoned. While we're talking about the bees, another new mechanic here, the wither rose. If you feed a bee a wither rose, well, it gets withered. It's terrible. And if you let a bee pollinate the eye blossom, it'll actually get a little bit of poison too, and it doesn't like it. Next up, a classic plant change, kelp. So kelp, it had this unique feature, if you want to call it that, on Minecraft Bedrock Edition, where sometimes it would get some interesting darker tinting going on. I believe this was related to different biomes. That tinting thing has been removed. Kelp will now be the same, a vibrant green color in every single biome. In one of the most realistically tragic yet niche updates of all time, inside of this update, copper. So you know how it goes. If you find it in the wild, don't mine it with a wooden pickaxe. If you do this, you're going to get nothing. Well, that mechanic will translate over to your Minecraft base now, because if you mine copper bulbs, or for that matter, the copper trapdoor as well with a wooden pickaxe, you're going to get nothing. Instead, if you want to pick this stuff actually up, well, you need to use at least a stone pickaxe or better now. And hey, speaking of actually getting things, do you remember these items from the beginning of the Java showcase video? Well, yeah, the same change happens over on Minecraft Bedrock Edition as well. Every single one of these items will now drop no matter what. Oh, now trees. This brand new update adds not only a new sapling, but a new type of tree as well. Place your sapling for this tree in a 2x2 formation, something like that. Go ahead and bone meal to speed it up, or just give it time, and you'll get yourself a tree that looks a whole lot like a dark oak tree, except it's not. It's a new variation. So with this new type of tree, every single time when grown, you will grow just the tree. When initially implemented for a little bit of time, really cool mechanic with pale moss growing near it as well. But yeah, they went ahead and toasted that one. Also, with a sapling, good thing to know, if it's on its own, if it's in pairs or trios, it will never grow. Instead, if you want this thing to actually grow up, you need a solid 2x2, literally just like a dark oak trees. And speaking of trees, every single other type of tree type on Minecraft Bedrock Edition has a big change inside of this update that might make your wood farm be a little bit different. Honestly, this change here, it might actually make building wood farms for every single type of tree a little bit easier, because now every single type of tree, as long as there aren't like other blocks in the way, because now every single type of tree will be able to grow through leaf blocks now. If you're familiar with wood farms, particularly those ones where you have like a bunch of saplings next to each other, they grow up and then of course there are leaves. Well, yeah, if you're familiar with those types of farms, you would know that they wouldn't have really worked for, say, an acacia tree on Bedrock before, but now it will. But speaking of trees, I can't believe it. The elephant in the room. How did you let me forget so long into the video? Which, by the way, if you're enjoying it, remember to tap like, subscribe. Brand new biome, the Pale Garden biome. It's one of the biggest parts of the Garden Awakens drop. If you want to find any of the new features, you need to first find this biome inside of your world. The Pale Garden biome is a brand new forest biome you'll be able to find across your world. It's a biome variant of the Dark Oak Forest biome, so if you're looking for this thing, try looking near a Dark Oak Forest in a new chunk. Jumping into this biome and running around, I mean, it's going to be pretty similar feeling to a Dark Oak Forest biome, to be honest, because the trees are so similar as well. However, inside of this biome, all over the ground, you'll find a pale moss, and drifting down from the leaves, well, you've got a brand new ambient particle effect with, like, actually falling leaves. It's so good looking. Oh, baby, you know the rules. Where there is a new tree, like the azalea tree, there is always a brand new wood set as well. Pale oak wood. Welcome to Minecraft. This might be the most beautiful wood set of all time. I mean, look, if you've been following the content over the past month or so, you know I've been ranting and raving in love and marrying this wood set. It's beautiful. I think this is going to revolutionize building, guys. This stripped version of the pale oak wood specifically, that's so soft and nice looking. The planks right here, you finally at last got a bright white plank wood set right here. This is like poor man's quartz. Of course, alongside the planks, you get every single wood variant as well. New doors, trap doors, signs, all of this stuff is so wonderful. The only thing I would have changed about this is a custom sound, because I mean, it's just got like the basic classic wood sound. It should have totally been a little bit more hollow and creepy, but I mean, hey, I can't complain. This is a wood set that we've been asking for literally years, and at last it's here. But this wood set here, in a way, it's a little bit larger than every other wood set in the game, almost at least, because alongside all of those wood blocks, there is also another new type of wood-related adjacent block as well. It comes from this little buddy right here, the new mob in this update, the creaking. So the creaking, it's a terrifying new mob. You probably have heard about how it works. If I look away from the creaking comes to life and basically starts running over towards me. You see the zombie right here? I go ahead and hit the zombie to get rid of it. Well, the creaking, if I hit the creaking to get rid of it, there could be more than one at once, by the way, but if you hit the creaking, no damage is dealt to it. Instead, you get particle effects, and these particle effects right here, they actually go from the creaking and link over to a tree. If you follow those particle effects over to a tree, maybe mine out some of the log blocks around it, well, on the inside of it, you'll find a brand new block called the creaking heart block. The creaking heart block is basically like literally the heart of the new creaking mob. Now for the creaking, there are so many in-depth mechanics tied to this thing. In fact, approximately like 20 minutes or so of in-depth mechanics. And so in order to prep yourself for any encounter with the creaking, check out the Everything series episode on this guy after this video. There's a card on screen right now, but long story short, as long as we stay looking at the creaking, it doesn't move. As soon as I look away, it'll move closer and closer to you and then eventually deal a little bit of damage to you. If you want to stop the creaking, well, all we need to do here is mine the creaking heart block. As soon as you break that, one of the coolest animations of all time will play, and it's gone. The nightmare is over. Now, real quick, before we check out the cool new block that you might have just noticed a second ago tied to the creaking and the creaking heart, cobwebs, a combat-related change. The mace. So previously, it would have actually mined the cobweb as quickly as a sword mines a cobweb, but that's busted. It's not how it's meant to be. The mace will now mine cobwebs slowly. Okay, but anyways, the creaking heart block. So this block is really cool. If you want to pick it up, you're going to need to silk touch this block. Otherwise, it'll break and drop experience and resin clumps. Now, if I sandwich this block in between two pale oak log blocks and wait till nighttime, well then, at nighttime, give it a little bit of time, and somewhere nearby, a creaking will spawn into the world. Now, just like I was doing a second ago, if I hit this creaking, particle effects will lead me back over to the creaking heart, but every single time I hit that creaking on pale oak log blocks near the creaking heart, a new block called resin clumps will form. In a survival setting, if I go ahead and punch these resin clump items right here, they'll instantly break. Now, this right here is the basis of farming resin inside of your world. Now, just like it was with the creaking with resin, there's a lot to it. I've also got an episode of the Everything series on resin for you to check out next. Resin clumps, you can mine this stuff instantly, you can pick it up, take it back home, and then place it down on any block in the entire game. That makes this thing super useful for a lot of unique and interesting build combinations. Alternatively here, though, if you pick up enough of this stuff, you can slide over to the crafting table and, with at least 9 of it, craft it into a solid block of resin. Just like with a slime block, you can craft the stuff back down into the resin clumps later. Resin block, the texture is fire, and it's interesting because insta-mineable block that doesn't have any other adverse properties. So for example, a slime block, I mean, it's bouncy. A honey block, it's sticky. This thing, nothing at all. That means you could maybe use this as an amazing scaffolding or just temporary building block that you could break instantly at a second's notice. On the other hand, resin clumps, slide into a furnace, throw them inside of the thing and give it a little bit of time, and you can actually smelt it up into another new item. A couple of seconds later, a resin clump has now been condensed down, if you will, into a resin brick. Once you're bricked up, you've got options on options. Just like before inside of the crafting table, except with a little bit less materials now, you can condense the bricks down into brick blocks. Alternatively, if you had a little bit of armor trim, slide into the smithing table and trim yourself up some beautiful brand new orange armor. Look at how nice this stuff looks, especially on netherite here, and this is all trimmed with this silenced trim right here, but wow, it's vibrant, juicy, alive, gorgeous. But resin bricks, look at how nice these bricks look. They look like that classic Mario orange bricks. You're gonna have a full block family here. That means staircases, slabs, and walls as well. But wait, there's more, specifically one more. Wow, it's wonderful. The chisel, the creaking brick block. I mean, it's got a creaking on it. It's so cool. You can kind of get the gist of it here from just being placed on the platform, but these resin blocks go so good with the new pale oak blocks. There are also so many other cool builds that you could do with these new blocks, 80 of which I showcase in this video right here. Check it out next. Now, next up here, listen. Yeah, that's right, the sounds for glow lichen and the nether vines have been corrected. This will apply for not only when you place these things, but also while you're walking and moving around with these plants as well. Ah, the bundle beautifully added only one update ago in the Bundles of Bravery drop. Well, inside of this update, they've gone ahead and done it. Inside of this update, the bundle has received a brand new update. When you put things inside of the bundle, the UI is going to look a little bit different. Now we've got those interesting new slot highlights going on behind the items. This is going to make some items that were a little bit too dark, like let's say glass panes, stand out a little bit more. Side note, I've got to say here, the bundle on Bedrock is far superior, with the items being a little bit more condensed here. It just looks so much better. I'm pretty sure that fold bar is a little broken though, right? Now you know how it goes. With the new Minecraft update, usually on Bedrock, there are experimental features, and in this update, we've got some. These are experiments that you will need to enable from the main menu when creating your world. One of these things is called Aim Assist right here. Now, Aim Assist is all related to the new camera command the devs are currently working on. If you enable Aim Assist inside of your world, then you go ahead and run around in your world in any perspective that isn't first-person perspective, well, you'll see this interesting new black highlight thing. And a command, an interesting command that is currently under works as well, that is new here inside of this update, the place command. Currently, right now, you can place a jigsaw or place a structure. Unfortunately, the really cool and useful part of this command place feature, that's not here quite yet, but hopefully soon. And so, Minecraft 1.21.50, the Garden Awakens drop on Bedrock Edition, this update is absolutely massive. That right there is just about the greatest hits of this update, but keep in mind that there are so many technical changes and bug fixes under the hood too. I'll leave a link to the wiki down below. What's your favorite part of the new Garden Awakens update? You call it down below, tap that like button, subscribe. Thank you all very much for taking the time out of the day to check out the new Minecraft update with me. This has been me, Waddles, and I'll see you tomorrow.